In the movie Back to the Future, Marty McFly takes a time machine made out of a DeLorean back to 1955. I routinely take a time machine back in time. My time machine is my refrigerator. Okay, I don't get in the refrigerator. That would be dangerous. And there wouldn't be any room between the leftovers and the heavy whipping cream and the egg cartons. I just stand in front of it. But I have to be careful. When I grab the orange juice in the morning, I'm apt to end up in Scotland in 2016 or the Canadian Rockies in 2006. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, my refrigerator is covered with portals that take me back to every family vacation that my wife and kids and I have taken together. Whenever two or more of us go someplace together, we bring back home a refrigerator magnet from that place. Now, the grocery store doesn't count. Neither does any place that we go to alone, like my trip up to Alaska last summer. Didn't get a magnet from that. And it has to be a fun place too. You can't just take a trip up to the Twin Cities to buy a new desk at IKEA. We might get several magnets on a trip if we go to separate locations and separate attractions. Now, this tradition started way back when my wife and I were first married. Not only does it allow time travel, it's an efficient use of space. I remember reading a Reader's Digest story when I was a kid. The title of the story was "Don't Buy the Sombrero." And it talked about buying souvenirs that seemed like a good idea at the time, but end up being a waste of money because, let's think about it, really, we're probably never going to wear that big sombrero again. Magnets are much smaller and much cheaper, and they can be enjoyed every day. This is how it usually goes. At the start of the trip, I find the perfect magnet. See, I know that at the end of the trip, we get caught up in trying to make it to the airport and we run out of time and we always end up forgetting to get a magnet. So I find the magnet at the beginning of the trip, and then my wife suggests that we might find a better magnet later. And at the last moment, we're running through the airport trying to find a magnet of any sort before we go home. And usually we end up with a substandard magnet or end up ordering one on the internet. But in their trip to London, we were racing to catch the tube to catch our train back out of town. And we walked by a street vendor and found the perfect London magnet, the underground symbol. Now come along with me on a quick trip through time and space. When I look at this magnet, I can remember that linguine with lemon zest that I cooked over a camp stove up in the Canadian Rockies. I can taste the best steak I ever had in my life at a little cafe up in Montreal back in 2016. And I can taste the lousy spaghetti that made our whole family sick on our first night in Orlando back in 1998. I can smell the eucalyptus and the cedar and see those big redwoods as I was carrying my toddlers through Muir Woods in 1992. I feel the 3 days of constant rain that my wife and I had in 1998 in Ontario before we had good camping gear. And I feel the emotional drain of our visit to the 9/11 Memorial in 2018. Carpegom's not here, but I was going to see if she saw this magnet on her trip to SD. And of course, every year, my family and I take a Boundary Waters trip through Tuscarora Outfitters. So it's hard to keep the trips separate. We have to label the back. And I think I've financed the retirements of 3 owners of Tuscarora through our little tradition of magnets. Sometimes there aren't any souvenir shops where we go or magnets for sale. So we have to make our own out of keychains. Or maybe pins. Or patches. Or fossils or rocks. A little epoxy in a button magnet turns any object into a refrigerator magnet. Timing chips from marathons that we ran in different places. And epoxy also comes in handy because my granddaughters love to play with magnets on our refrigerator and they break them routinely, the sweet little dears. And the poor gorilla from the Como Zoo lost his Como Zoo sign a long time ago. Great Scott! The time machine is out of control. We're caught in a loop. We're going to mess up the space-time continuum. Is it our density to end up lost in space, lost in time? Oh no, oh no. Oh, I'm glad we got back. Got that stopped. Wait a minute. I thought that trip was to the Twin Mountain Ranch. Whoa, we made it back to the future. Our tradition pretty much guarantees that I'll never have a stainless steel fridge because the magnets wouldn't stick. I'd have to cover it with a sheet of real steel so they would stick. We rarely have doldrums in the Weckwerth family. If I live to be 100, I'll probably need 2 refrigerators. It's amazing how many times and places I can visit in my time machine. It doesn't even require 1.21 gigawatts, but a glass or 2 of wine helps fire it up. I can be lost in time for a long time, but wherever and whenever I go, I have a great time. Madam Toastmaster.